could be worse, Joe.
What?
It could be worse.
Hey, Gus, please don't say that, okay? It can't get any worse. I mean, I'm so sick of it. It's like every time we get in trouble or something goes bad, we think of worse situations so we could say, it could get worse.
All I said was...
Hey, Gus, the truth is, it can't get any worse.
Hey, Joe! Joe!
Yeah.
Hey, Joe!
Yeah. Hey, it just got worse, Gus.
What?
What do you mean, what? You saw the lightning. You know what happens.
What are the chances you get hit by lightning again?
Hey, Gus, what were the odds the first time I got hit? What were the odds the second time?
Hey, Joe, if I can fix the car, I'd do it myself, man. Come on from behind that tree so we can go. I can't fix the car. Let's just fix the car so we can get out of here and get the money. Hey, here you go. Oh, come on, Joe, don't be silly.
Hey, Gus, I'm trying to be intelligent about this, you know.
What do you mean intelligent? Come on, man, nothing's gonna happen.
Hey, Gus, it hurts to get hit by lightning, you know. You don't know what it feels like.
Hey, Joe, watch. Hey, hit me. See? Yeah, you see? Hey, right here. See what I mean? Here I am. Hey, come on, I'll give you a free shot. Come on, hit me. See what I mean, Joe?
Yeah, I guess it is a little bit silly.
Here. Let's go fix the car. There. See? Uh-huh.
Oh.
Yo.
Old school HBO at the dog.
1,
3,
5,
7.
What
What
the
the fuck is up,
Internet?
Internet? Did you miss us?
Did you?
It's not rhetorical.
Put it in the comments. Let us know.
Please.
So this is what we're calling season 0.
The season where you really get to know us and our contemporaries and our cohorts and all those other C words. What we're gonna be doing in season 0 is each individual member of TTFT will be able to express themselves more so in a more personal format. So you will have certain segments, if you've noticed in the past, we have Emma Everywhere, how she's done her segments, we'll still have those. What I did with Prey, where it's more so of a voiceover, but you get, of course, the overlays as well. Then you're gonna have Durden doing what Durden does.
I'm gonna write shit and do essays, but they're gonna be in video form to try to, trick you into thinking that you're being entertained and not informed.
Trust me, you won't feel like you're being entertained.
And informed.
No.
Okay.
And of course, we'll still have it is season 0, but we promised you when we started this show one thing. We would never leave you with from the original format that we did. So of course, once a month, you'll get classic OG Durden and Royal.
Yes, and that's what this is. But before we get to exactly what this is, where have we been?
Far from the tree.
We said we were taking a break, but we really didn't take it. We took a break from TTFT, but we still had stuff posting every other day, so did we really even take a break from TTFT? But while we were away, we made a feature film, and this is we're just gonna run a quick montage of us making that. You can have a quick recap of what we did while we were gone.
They really get to see it?
Right now.
Damn, roll that beautiful bean footage.
The funny thing is, when I started this, when we had the idea to make this, it was supposed to be small scale. The intention for it was to be me, Royal, Jayla, for the majority of the production, and it was just going to be, we were going to do big things with something that felt very small, very simple, easy to wrap my head around, easy to keep all of the ducks in a row and make sure that everything is right. I just wanted to scale, like what we did with Kill. I'm gonna kill someone this Friday. It was arguably too big. We pulled it off, but it was a lot to, if you're doing quality control on something like that, there's a lot more to keep your eyes on. And the whole purpose for this was to make something where we could just make it very simple. That way every frame, every piece of audio, every performance could be just looked at with a magnifying glass and a fine-tooth comb, and we'd have the time to do that because it would just be such a small scale. And the irony of that is that it just kind of grew on its own. It turned into the logistically, financially, the biggest project that I've done, and none of that seemed to be within my control. It was just kind of fate intervening to make this thing as big as it was supposed to be, against all of my intentions going into it.
Beautiful birds are singing, coming in my ear. Oh Lord, there's a ray of sunlight. Everything is clear. Whoa, yeah. Beautiful birds are singing, it's coming in my ear. There's a ray of sunlight, now everything is clear. It's gonna be a new day, yeah. The sun is here, yeah. Sounds of people waking, oh, the sound is coming near. You are here beside me, everything is clear. It's gonna be a new day, yeah. The sun is here, birds are singing, sun is shining. Everybody's here, yeah, the sun is here, sun is here, birds are singing, everybody, oh yeah, yeah, the sun is here, oh yeah, the sun is shining, oh, sounds of people waking, coming in my ear. Beside me, girl, now everything is clear. It's gonna be a new day, yeah, yeah. Sun is here, sound of people waking, oh, it's coming near. Yeah, oh, my dear, it's a new day. Sun is here, birds are singing, sun is shining, yeah, yeah.
Did you notice somebody, like if you're like a diehard fan of TTFT and have watched every episode and every interview, you may have noticed a familiar face other than his and mine in the behind the scenes montage, and that was one Lila Robbins, who was in our first season of TTFT on the Planes, Trains, and Automobiles episode.
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Oh my goodness. Oh my God, I had so much fun. And I think you're onto something, you two of the exotic names, Torian and Durden. When you wrote to me, I mean, I don't know why I said yes, Durden, but there was something about your name that was like, what is this Durden?
She wouldn't have responded to David, but Durden got through.
But David is the
I
beloved
don't know.
one. Well, thank you very much for responding. And yeah, I hear you. I don't know why people are responding to me when they do either. I'm just as flabbergasted. So thank you very much for responding, and I hope you have a happy holidays and safe.
Thanks, you too. And I really wish you both the best in your work and in finding work and finding, where it gets sort of special and wonderful, and you're living up to your potential. That's fun to kind of go, oh yeah, I think I almost lived up to my potential on that one.
Now we made a movie together. How crazy is that?
I don't think it's crazy at all. You go after something, you want it, you aim for the stars, you get stars.
And would it be crazy if we didn't make just one movie while we were on break, but we happened to make 2 movies?
Part duh.
Because this is actually going to drop shortly before, we might as well plug the LOL.
The Laughing Out Loud Film Festival in Jacksonville, Florida.
Not only do we have a film playing in that we did about not being able to make a movie, but we're
don't even jump the gun. We're hosting the red carpet.
We are hosting the red carpet, and we're hosting an unofficial after party.
What are we calling that? Is that LOL After Dark?
LOL After Hours.
After Hours. You know what's good about that? It's a meeting of the mind. We get to bring our fans from across the world, internationally, domestically, and foreign, all one of those mean the same. We're gonna bring them together with our fans here that are locally here. So it's almost like a meeting of the minds. We're gonna bring them to you and then bring you to us, and all together we'll just have one of those polygamy movie camp vibes,
Yeah. But anyway, we did Lights, Camera, That's a short film. We'll get into more of
I came up with that title, by the way. That my ego did not go on break.
We'll get into we'll get into more about how we are incorporated at TTFT into LOL later on in the coming attractions, and what you can expect, what content we're gonna mine from that experience for you to enjoy.
Will season 0 consist of you looking at paper throughout the times?
Yes, I have notes. I'm Walter Cronkite now. And
I thought you were gonna say Walter White.
I'm gonna tip my glasses.
Okay.
Yes, I come with notes. We don't have to plug up the computer anymore. It's great. On episode 1 of season 0, which is this, the film that we were covering, you may be wondering why we are in what we're in.
Well, I don't think they're wondering why I look damn good. That's why I'm doing what I'm in.
You may be wondering why we're in what we're in, and the answer is because I guarantee, well, you've probably seen this movie. If you clicked on this,
probably haven't.
If they clicked on this link, like nobody's just going fishing for this information that hasn't seen the
Nobody's
movie.
going fishing for the movie Gone Fishing. Well, I see what you did there, Chuck. You've
So-
been practicing.
That's the movie anyway, Gone Fishing.
Put me on a higher level, give me a show.
It's time for a fan favorite of the show, Did You Know with Durden.
But now, when you say a fan favorite, you're talking about you being a fan of
I'm
that
the biggest
segment.
fan.
You're the only
I
fan.
am my biggest fan.
Oh, you got your only fans.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go, guy.
It's just me jerking off to myself.
Well, there goes that demonetization again.
So, Gone Fishing, 2 lifelong, lovable, and I mean lovable, pals encounter one fiasco after another that prevents them from enjoying their ultimate fishing trip. A cozy, feel-good, slapstick, John Hughes-ish, not John Hughes, but John Hughes-ish adventure comedy where you can check your logic at the door and fully embrace the cartoonish hijinks that Joe and Gus get into as they try to go on fishing. The production info for this, directed by Christopher Kane. He also did 1980. This is not everything he did, but it's just some of the highlights that stood out to me. 1987's The Principal. 1988's Young Guns. 1999's Pure Country. 1994's The Next Karate Kid. This was written by Joe Mazursky and Jeffrey Abrams, or as we know him now, Abrams, J.J. Abrams.
Oh.
J.J.
Dynamite.
Young J.J. Not a movie that you would expect J.J. Abrams to write, not a movie you would expect Danny Glover and Joe Pesci to star in, but
Say
we'll
that
get to
twice.
that. It stars Joe Pesci and Danny Glover, Rosanna Arquette and Lynn Winfield, and of course Willie Nelson is Billy Catchpooler. This was primarily shot right here in our home state of Florida, with some scenes done in New Jersey and South Carolina. This was done from November 1995 until February 1996, where it sat in post-production and litigation and Disney hell for way too long, where movies that were finished production long after were already had their theater run. It was just kind of crazy what happened to
I don't
this.
know what that is.
There are reasons. I don't remember the specifics. It wasn't exciting. It premiered in the U.S. on May 30th, 1997. It brought in nearly $5 million on its opening weekend. It currently has a worldwide gross of nearly $20 million, which is criminal, and the budget was $53 million. So to this day, it still hasn't recouped what it did. Here's some trivia before we get into it. There was a tragedy on the set. stunt woman Janet Wilder was tragically killed in an accident during filming. The accident also injured her husband and fellow stuntman Scott Wilder and his father Glenn R. Wilder, also a stuntman. In the scene where the boat goes over a ramp and flies over the mangrove hedge to land between the two other boats, the first time one of the times that they tried to do that, it slid off the side of the ramp, flipped over, and landed on a crowd of crew and extras. Janet Wilder previously worked on 1995's 9 Months and 1996's Black Sheep, also a criminally underrated film. She was just 29 years old when she died. Shirt story. The shirt Joe wears through much of the movie says Fish New York and I, as you can see, which is a nod to Joe Pesci's real-life birthplace in Newark, New Jersey. And here is a photo on the screen right now found on jerseyboysblog.com. This is of Tommy DeVito, Frankie Valli, and Joe Pesci. This was from circa 1960s in a barbershop in the heart of Jersey. Tommy DeVito actually makes a cameo as a construction worker at the beginning who says, "Oh, Gus," after Gus drops the shit on the car. Him and Pesci were really good friends in real life. Say my name, say my name. Gus says Joe's name nearly 200 times, and Joe says Gus's name nearly 250 times. And despite the title, Gus and Joe never actually catch a fish. Arguably, there is a theory about that, but on the surface, they go fishing, they never caught a fish. That's all I got. Hey, Cock.
What's going on, brother?
Put me on a higher level, give me a show.
All right, it's time for the King of Connection, guys. Here, let's go ahead and get into this here. There's only a few connections on this, and of course, if you guys have missed the show, then you've missed the cock. The King of Connections, which we are, it started out as me, but hey, what's better than one cock, two, right? Let's have them, right?
Arguably.
Yeah, I mean, DP.
Is that what she said?
No, DP. Dave Polanski. So with that being said here, guys, the first thing I'm going to go ahead and say the connection is here. I'm going to be start out being nice here. One of the connection is that Danny Glover, of course, in the film Lethal Weapon, I believe it's 4 if I'm not mistaken here. It's definitely one with Joe Pesci. So of course there's that connection that they, of course, is one they've been in films before. It's one of the films everybody should recognize them for. But if you notice, he gets his boat destroyed in that film. And so the fact that their boats gets destroyed and everything happens to their boat in this film is very funny to me. That Danny Glover, he loves his boat. That's all he wants to do. We're getting too old for this shit. You know, they're getting too old and things of that nature here. And I just love that that boat was destroyed as their boat was taken away by a train. You know, that's funny almost, because what's funny about that, the director, you brought up Lila Robbins earlier with Planes, Trains, Automobiles, but that's neither here nor there. Unfortunately, this film also draws a lot of other connections.
Before you move on to Lethal Weapon, how many Lethal Weapons have you seen?
All of them.
You want to know how many I've seen?
0.
I've seen 1.
Not the one I'm talking about.
Not the first one, not the second one, not the third one. I've seen the 4th one.
They fuck you with the cell phones.
I've seen the one where the critics and fans say it's the worst one, but I loved it.
Yeah, the one with Jet Li and Chris Pratt. That was one of the
great.
best ones.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, it was.
So we're with you on that. All right.
Yeah, I mean, rather than your boy say, "Hey, wanna get crazy?" fucking getting crazy and shit. But unfortunately, this film does show a connection, an unfortunate connection with other films, such as one in particular, which I didn't want to bring up, but what's the worst that can happen? Basically, when you think, and that perfectly sets this film up, is really describing when two icons apparently either owe someone a favor. We'll get into that later, but you don't have to see where I'm going because the sign's right there, brother. And so it shares a connection with that, unfortunately, because it's hard to get two iconic actors to look so subpar, and I'll get into it later. So it does share that connection, but other than that,
no connection to Edison then?
No. It's still better than Edison, unfortunately. And that's just.
I can't believe we're gonna split hairs on episode 1.
Well, so be it. But again, those are the only connections that I would have with it. And again, I wish I really shared no connections with this film, but that's neither here nor there. So there's your King Connections, guys. Sorry.
I have one connection from IMDb that I think you find interesting.
Go for it.
The original director of Gone Fishin' was John G. Avildsen, which that name will ring a bell because we covered another film of his that, speaking of Season 0 doing our own thing, you're at least planning to revisit this film for an upcoming solo segment. You want to take a swing at what film that is?
Does it have anything to do with Joe Clark and that investigation at that school at Eastside High and what he did to those kids?
It does. John G. Avildsen, of course, they lean on me. He worked on Gone Fishing for 2 weeks, and this is amazing. I call this a win for Avildsen because he worked on Gone Fishing for 2 weeks, was fired, and he was paid $2 million. $2 million for 2 weeks of work, and I guess 2 weeks of work that he didn't even do.
Oh, I know. I can tell. We'll get into that.
I guess we will. I'll spoil it right now. I love this movie, and I think that's.
And just with that one statement, our show loses credibility.
Put me on a higher level, give me a show.
7 Minutes in Heaven.
Hell?
So
You mean hell? You mean hell?
I guess if you want to call it that, but if you, I mean, I've got 3.
One too many pages of notes on
I
there,
got
but
2
go ahead.
scenes in a moment.
Go ahead. I mean, we can go back and forth. We can tend to match this thing. Go ahead.
All right, so my first one is I call this just killer looks. This is so Rosanna Arquette and Lynn Winfield.
They did really good, by the way. Their roles, they did
were
really good.
They pick up Joe and Gus after their car is stolen and their boat is wrecked. They're pushing their boat down the road. Lynn Winfield and Rosanna Arquette pick them up. They're talking. They're riding. It was one of those like El Camino cars or something where it's like a pickup truck car.
Yeah.
They're essentially in the back. They're not riding with the girls. They're in the back. They're
Right.
It's like helpers on a construction company. You always see the dudes in the back that get picked up from Home Depot.
Mm-hmm.
So they're back there and they're talking about how. Well, first of all, you get Joe Pesci's when they first pull up. He's like, "Hey, Gus, babes," and he puts his glasses on. I thought,
No, you have to, I'm sorry to cut you off. You're gonna have to be more specific because you said he said, "Hey, Gus." Out of those 300 times he said his name, could you narrow that down?
the part where he followed it up with babes, and he put his glasses on. I don't know. It just tickles me, and I feel like I'm gonna hate this movie by the time we're done with this episode, just by the way you're fucking looking at me.
I'm not looking at it in any type of way. I'm not looking at it in a condescending way. That was one of your, okay.
No, that ain't even it. That's barely it. That's barely.
I thought we were going back and forth.
No, this is
Same scene?
the whole scene. Yeah,
Go for it.
Then Danny Glover, they're sitting in the back, and this goes back to why I specified they are not riding in the car with these girls. They are in the back. He goes, 1 minute, we're dragging our boat. Next minute, we get to ride with babes. And he's so happy. That's that fucking look. He's so happy about it as they're not riding with babes. And that's perfect. It goes right with their character.
In fairness, it's the closest they're gonna get to riding with babes.
Well, and it's the character building. It's smart writing because it's setting up it's setting up something that is throughout the whole movie. There's one thing that's going on with them, and that they are optimistic throughout the garbage, and they look at the bright side of everything.
That describes how you feel about the film. You're optimistic
I guess
about
I'm
the garbage.
Call me a Joe. Well, then you get the killer looks. They're back there talking about how back in high school they used to do these killer looks, and when and they're like, "We're gonna use them on these girls." And when the girls knock on the window and they open up the thing and they both turn around, it was Blue Steel before Blue Steel, but it was a terrible Blue Steel. And Danny Glover's Blue Steel, I'd give killer look. I give like a 6. Joe Pesci's Blue Steel, I give like a 9 because it's so ridiculous. And then they bring it back later on when they're at Phil Beasley's attractive assistant pops up when they're getting the boat, and it's like an immediate callback. As soon as she shows up, they turn on the killer looks again. Tell me that, how you're not even smiling and thinking about the killer looks?
Because I'm remaining professional over here, unlike you.
Well, the scene is so.
Okay, I'll humor you here. That scene is, there are certain, don't get me wrong, I do have that written down in all fairness. I love the killer looks. That was one thing that was very genuine. It was one of the times where I felt like we actually got Danny Glover and we got Joe Pesci. I saw them I don't even want to say mail it in, but at that very moment, I felt the moment of nostalgia with them. And furthermore, in that same scene, which I did love, is that I felt like every man would have done this. And it was so funny because normally I'd be like, that's so choppy. Why would they do that? But it was funny that when they were riding in the back of that El Camino, and he was right. They weren't riding with the babes. They were riding in the back of a car that had babes in it. When they hit the pothole, The beard bumps in the air for like 0.2 seconds. I've never seen Danny Glover move so
the
fast.
beard!
He was gone.
Get the
It
beard,
reminded
Josh.
me. It reminded me of Wolf of Wall Street with Leonardo telling your boy Jonah Hill, he's like, "Get the loot. I'm not gonna die sober." So yeah, that was fun.
So that's a perfect segue. So when he jumps on the boat to get the beer, then the boat breaks off from the car, and their faces, when the fork in the road, the car goes this way and the boat goes this way, the dumbfounded faces, that's money to me. And then the fact that this goes back to they're riding the car with babes or not with babes. And then another example of how their optimism never wavers is they are, Joe looks at Gus and he goes, "Hey, that's a nice RV, Gus, isn't it?" About an RV that is barreling towards them, about to like take them out, and all that he could think is, "That's a nice RV." That scene and the whole stretch of this scene is just so great because this is one of my top 3 moments easily in the movie when they narrowly avoid getting hit by the train and their boat being just devoured by the train. They push the train off the tracks right before the train hits the boat, and by some like miracle in the laws of physics and gravity, the anchor of the boat rattles off the boat, and I don't know how. There's no possible way it could have flew through the air and land and hit the back of the train just perfectly to hook on, but it did, and we accept it. I accept it.
How can you? Is that why you became atheist?
I accept it purely because of the gift that it gives us, because the very next shot is just that boat whipping away and that shot of the boat leaving them, and then the shot of them watching the boat leave them, and what that says, like ultimately, like you should have took it as a sign right there. You should not be. This shouldn't be a recreational.
Oh no, I did
activity.
take it as a sign to not be watching the film.
And you were like callbacks. They did a callback on that, like a few scenes later.
If you call
they're
back to something that's not funny, is it a callback or is it a private call?
No, they're talking about what the girls are worried about us. And it cuts to the girls, and they're sitting at the railroad crossing, and the train is passing, and here comes the boat behind the train, and they're just like, "What the hell?" The girls' reactions throughout the whole thing, I think that was, again, great writing, because them just doing this crazy shit, that's one thing, but to have these bystanders that come around just in time to witness when they're on the fucking wind boat at the end and they're riding down, they pass the girls on the highway and they just look at them like, every time we bump into them, it's something else. That's great comedy writing. I can't believe this.
See, I tried to help you out so we can go back and forth, but you're just going to bury your grave.
That's just my first scene.
Oh, wow, that's funny.
I got 2 more scenes.
Well, that was the only thing that was funny about that. And I'm just going to say this before I forget it here. This serves as an example. This serves as an example that I hope that people who are getting into film and watching film and learning from film. The only thing there's 2 things that I think stand out about this film. This film reminds me of that film that was not released that Leonardo DiCaprio and Tobey Maguire was in, and then they did that guy a favor. I don't know whether Joe Pesci and Danny Glover did this guy a favor. What I will say is this: it must have made him a better director, because those films you named after this, clearly, if you could have bet me $1 million, and I would have said they did not have the same director. But that's okay. It's okay.
This was actually his last one.
Well, then there you know why now. And with that being said here, now I will say this: now, if you dig deep, and I mean way down. If you dig deep, there are some things that, I mean, if you're on substances or not, may make you laugh or not. And with that being said...
No, the first time I saw this, I was like 12 years old, and it cracked me
apparently
up.
you still are inside. Okay, so with that being said, what happens here is that what I do like is, one of the first things that starts on the film, it starts off with a little bit of promise. I will say that because I do love that, and I thought you would have mentioned this, that they stay right next door to each other. I love how they all leave out, and that camera shot, one of the few camera shots, mind you, that was this clearly was a tripod shot, which they didn't have many on set. But it was beautiful how they leave out, pack up like they got to go across the bridge home, and they literally walk down the stairs, turn correctly, like. It's just funny that the kids didn't jump. That was pretty funny. I thought that was very
great
neat.
Comedy writing.
No, it was funny. And so, and to your point, the killer looks were great. I really do love the killer looks because, again, it's almost like that's when actors aren't actors. I just feel like that's what something they would have did. And you're right. The reason why Joe Pesci's face is funnier than Danny Glover's is because, I'm being honest with you, it's a short white guy next to a cool looking black guy. And it's just funny that even Danny Glover looks crazy doing it, but Joe Pesci looks even crazier he's mocking somebody that looks crazy. So he
looks like the kid in Dutch when he's like trying to act like he's like cold and hurt.
Well, that's going to bring me to my theory later. Remember, I don't know if we ever hear me out on this, but I have a theory about that. But again, that was funny. But one of the things that generally made me laugh out loud, probably one of the only things throughout the film, Mr. Nelson. I didn't know it was him at first until the end of the film, but one of the things that did make me laugh was they say only idiots use these lures. It's the idiots that ain't using them that are the idiots. Like, to me, now that, it's like, damn, how can Mr. Nelson here, with the movie with Danny Glover and Joe Pesci, he shouldn't be the one that's not making me laugh. But again, he did, and especially right after that, you got to flick, and you dip. You got to flick and dip. And I'll say this: spoiler alert! I didn't expect to see him at the end of the film. So clearly, all the money went to the pre-prime actors. There.
Spoiler alert! I wish I didn't see him at the end of the film. And
Mr. Willie Nelson, you didn't want to see him at the end of the film?
I liked his. I'll get to that.
Oh, Catch. His name was Catch.
Tell me this wasn't funny.
I will. Give me a second. Let you read it first.
I think this is after they set. Yeah, this is after they set the hotel on fire, which was a great scene. They set up the fact that he eats red meat, he sleepwalks, he ate red meat. We knew what was gonna happen. It happened. That's not even my scene. That was just a bonus. After that, they're riding down the street, and Joe says, "In any case, we're going home." Pop. And the tire pops, and the way Joe and Gus both go, flat. And then Joe Pesci's performance, when he goes, I got you, Gus. I got you, Gus. But he's going like this. You could tell that he's like, the car really isn't going like this. So it's Joe Pesci going like this, and he's holding Danny Glover, and he's like, I got you, Gus.
It's funny. I was doing the same thing, trying to decide whether to walk away from the movie or not. But I knew I had to do this for the show. That was funny to me. Yeah. I had to choose between professionalism and lying to you and tell you I watched all of it. But I chose professionalism and not to lie to you. I truly believe that these two guys, and I'm not being funny here, unless this movie was meant for them to be slightly autistic or have slightly Down syndrome, then I don't understand what I'm watching here because of the fact that they never grew up from, even as kids, they were little stupid kids, and then they became adults when they got up. And like that, dude, I promise you, that them saying their names like that, I really thought at some point that they were doing that to stick it to the director. Like, they were purposely, it was like some Super Trooper stuff. How many times can I say meow? But they weren't doing, but no,
that's one of my favorite parts of the movie.
No, man, it almost made me cut the film off 3 times because, again, how many times do I say, hey, Durden, and you say, Royal, Durden, Royal? We barely say it. We said it in the intro and the outro. They said it over 2. It's more times they say the N-word in Django Unchained.
It's not something that normal people do.
To my point, they're not normal people. They have a slight sense of autism or Down syndrome.
Do you really believe that a cigar flicked into a sewer could shut off the whole New Jersey power grid?
No.
They are setting that up in the very beginning. They're like, all right, look, this is the kind of logic that you're going to be working with in this
I don't
movie.
believe ooze can turn baby turtles and a rat into crime-fighting ninjas, but it was entertaining.
Okay, good point. I am so furious right now. I can't believe you like Pixels and not...
This has nothing to do with Pixels, man. Stay on topic.
You like Pixels.
I love Pixels. I love Pixels.
So that's funny, which I agree is funny, but this is funny
I'm not
too.
doing this just to bother you, brother. I promise you, I don't know how they let this come out, man.
They tried to not let it come out.
And what does that tell you, David?
It tells me that
the 12-year-old in you loved it.
They don't get it. It could be worse. That's my last favorite scene. It could be worse. And you may recognize this scene because we opened up the episode with it because it's a fucking great scene. They're out there. Just Joe Pesci's performance is so good. The way when after everything that's going wrong, and then Danny Glover says it could be worse. And the way Joe Pesci looks up at him, the desperation. This is an Academy Award winner. This is at least an Academy Award nominee. And he goes, please don't say that right now. The way he says that so desperately.
That I agree with.
Yes. And then his face when the thunder clapped. He
slow down, man.
He went back to Home Alone when he got electrocuted.
Man, stop! Don't you?
But then. They hit you with no one's gonna I'm not going to let any man put their mouth on me again. They hit with that because Danny Glover walks out and what does he say? He goes, He goes, Joe, what are the odds you're gonna get hit again? And then they double down on it when he comes out, what are the odds I'm gonna get hit a second time? But the best part of that scene is when he goes, I'm trying to be intelligent about this, you know? That's genius. It hurts when you get hit by lightning, you know?
I'll say this.
You're a great actor. To sit there with a straight face while I'm reliving the
When you cut this camera off, I'm gonna have the same face, brother. With that being said, I will agree with you on one thing. That was one moment I will hold above all, is that you actually did see some serious acting from Joe Pesci when that first started. Now I don't know about Running into the Woods, I wouldn't agree with that, but when he looked at him like, man, enough with it's like at some point he broke character, like, man, listen, we can be as positive as we want here, but not right now. Because at that point he had his car stolen and he regained it. He everything that could go wrong, they were pretty positive. And that's to my point. That's what two slightly autistic or Down syndrome men or children would do. And they're, well, no. In your opinion, no. In my opinion, yes. Because again, to the point, I don't want to get off track. He did do a masterful acting job with it, and I think that scene for both of them, that was the best, some of the best acting they did in that scene because it showed you how much they cared. Now that's one thing that cannot be denied. No matter how good or bad the film is, no one can walk away from this saying that they did not have one of the best friendship. They were brothers, and it defies race, it defies age. It just shows you
they don't even bring it up.
They don't, and now that is what's masterful about this. I'll give you that.
And yeah, that's true. It is like, if you want like what your goal for friendship should be, it is theirs. And I'll get into that in my Fxxks Given, because that's one of the things I love most about the movie.
Put me on a higher level, give me a show.
We're talking about the actors, might as well get into scene stealers. I have two honorable mentions, and of course my scene stealer.
I have two honorable mentions in my scene stealer. You want to go back and forth with honorable mentions?
Yeah.
My honorable mention is Joe Pesci.
My honorable mention is Danny Glover. That's one of them.
My honorable mention is Danny Glover.
My other honorable mention is Gary Grubbs.
That's funny. That's my scene stealer.
Oh, okay.
Touch, play. Dude, what he did with that character, man, like, again, that came out of nowhere. And see, to me, at least from my opinion of what funny is, or at least what's legible, you know how things are edible? There needs to be certain things that are visually edible. And he at that point, it's almost like even Danny Glover and Joe Pesci was like, finally, give me something to work with here. Because when he was like, hey, just call Phil, he was like he wasn't a used car salesman, we sell pre-owned. Yeah. Like, it was just a little step above. He had already gave him the pen, the girl came out, and I was like, okay,
you
now.
already got the pen.
Right, so it clearly, he came to play, and I really love that. I didn't even need to call back with him 20, 30 minutes later. We're like, but it was funny, Phil!
Yeah.
So to me, those few moments, I felt like I was watching Glenn Glary Ross, he had that, and I'm like, he really embodied that character. And again, normally I would never give this guy, it's a 1,000,000 to 1 long shot that he should, in my opinion, win a scene stealer, but Joe Pesci and Danny Glover, in my opinion, professional opinion here, were so underused and so misused. This had to be like a contract dispute, but go ahead.
I have 4 points as to why Joe Pesci is my scene stealer.
Please, I mean, you don't have to explain, he's awesome, but go ahead, I'll listen.
He is awesome.
In life.
His expressions in this, even when he's not having dialogue, his expressions are over the top. I don't like over the top acting, but for some reason it works. Number 2, the range. I have this character is like it's the polar opposite of everything else that he's ever done in his entire career, and this is like showcased throughout the movie. But especially in the third act, when Decker holds them hostage, to see Joe Pesci paired up against somebody playing the victim to a character that he would normally be cast
on the
as,
other side, yeah.
That was good, and it's pretty mind-blowing that he actually pulled it off. That was one of the most believable moments in the movie, where he was, where his ego was broken, and when he had to push his car into the river, he's like, my car, Gus, my car.
Let me ask you a question. I want to ask you something about that before you go on. When you said when he was tied up, I agree with you. Now, what did he try to do to that guy?
Tell me you did not laugh when he spit on himself.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's what I was bringing up. No, because what are some of these symptoms? 2 words you said.
No, dude, no.
He slobbed on himself, and then you used the word range. I used the word spectrum. He was on the spectrum on this. If he was playing an autistic person or Down syndrome, bravo. Bravo.
You know what? You say autism, I say simple. I think they're just playing simple.
They make Forrest Gump look like a goddamn rocket scientist, man.
Speaking of simple, his little quirks. that he's always nervous, the way he's always needing Gus to reassure him, right? Hey, right, Gus? Right, Gus? And his scared face is just, again, the scared face is so over the top good. And that part in the, so many great things.
You know
about
why you
Joe
love his
Pesci, but I'll
faces?
just-
You know why you love his faces? Because the script is shit. That's why you
No,
love
the
his faces.
script is good. The script is solid. It is a solid comedy script. You cannot take it.
It is not a solid
I'll
comedy
get into
script. It's
that.
not.
At
Go
Fxxks
ahead.
Given, but that part in the cafe where he turns around and talks to the guy, he's like making a joke. You know, just joke. That was like.
You talking about with the main villain? Or-
Yeah.
Okay.
Where he's a joke. It's like I felt like I was getting a little bit of the super in there, a little bit of My Cousin Vinny.
You got.
That was a walk-off on the first episode. So, that's all right. I got some notes as far as casting calls. So, Gus and Joe, Danny Glover and Joe Pesci were originally not going to play Gus and Joe. They almost avoided this train wreck that he believes it to be, not me. Could you imagine? Thank you. What are you trying to say?
Something's wrong. Somebody's poisoned you. It's not the man I know. It's not the man I know.
You must be dehydrated. You're
No,
not
I'm fine. I'm completely
You're not
fine.
thinking clearly.
Yeah, something's wrong here, man.
Could you imagine this movie with John Candy and Rick Moranis?
Yeah, I can imagine it with John Candy and Steve Martin. It's called Plane, Trains, and Automobiles. It was funny.
It's
classic.
What about John Travolta was also attached at one point. I'm assuming to play Joe. And then Decker, Rupert Everett was offered the role. He was not interested. Bob Hoskins, or Roger Rabbit, Mario. He was also asked. He didn't like the script. Now, this is Catch Puller. Christopher Kane originally asked George Strait to play the role. He previously worked with him on their film Pure Country and Strait's music video Carrying Your Love With Me. But Strait didn't want to act in another film, so the role went to Willie Nelson. Danny Glover admitted to doing the film purely for the money. Rosanna Arquette worked on Gone Fishin' and 1996's Crash at the same time.
Akin to
David?
Yeah. Or no,
And Patricia. She flew back and forth from Florida to Toronto to film those two movies at the same time. And the last casting call note is Louise Fletcher, famously known for her role in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Nurse Ratched. She made a cameo in Gone Fishing. She was the restaurant owner. And he came over there, talked to gentlemen, stole their car, and that line.
Speaking of that, really quick before you move on.
She actually asked Joe Pesci for a role so she could work with him. Haven't always wanted to. She always wanted. So she saw him in Goodfellas and wanted to work with him. So he gave her a role in this. I can only imagine how you feel about that.
Well, you should ask how I feel about you reading that line, knowing that you haven't seen Goodfellas. But I do feel even worse about it because of the fact I bet she feels like she got shit into that stick. Out of all the great movies he's done, she had to do this.
She seems like she had a good time, and it was a very delightful.
I know she did her thing. I can't knock her either, man. I will say this: that scene you're talking about, this has something to do with I don't know if it has something to do with the script, but I would definitely say I won't even put it on the actor. I'll put it on the cameraman, and I'll put it on the execution of whoever let this happen. He is the worst fucking thief in the world, and only two people who are on the spectrum of autism or Down syndrome could let somebody steal their keys like that. You see what I'm talking about? Like, it's a rabbit's foot, it's an alien. Like, he played with them like they would do with a kid. Is that a such and such? Is that an invader? It's like he was dealing with children, man.
Angela didn't see. She was like, what did he just grab?
She wasn't paying attention. But apparently,
neither were they, because
because
they're simple.
Because you can get them. Stupid is, stupid does.
Yeah, well,
I'm gonna tell you why. Again, we spoke about the scene stealers. Again, like I say, I'm not gonna knock everyone who acted in this film. I will say one thing that truly bothered me. It's not something I would change, but something that truly did bother me about this film. And I don't know if you saw it. Maybe they wasn't doing some run and gun. And of course, when you're doing wilderness films or films with a lot of action, there's going to be a lot of camera movement that maybe you're not used to, but it was way too far into technology. It was the 90s here. Some of that camera movement was horrible. I don't know if it was just one cinematographer, but I almost thought I saw some soft shots. I could be wrong, but just them in certain scenes moving it left or right, like, nah, man, just go with it, just go. I'm like, no, that's one of the things that really made this thing bad, because like, why, man, just why? And no payoffs on certain, dude. You got to understand, the jokes, there were no new innovative jokes in this film as far as the setup, but you can do those same jokes today and they're funny. Like some of the stuff that happened Weekend at Bernie's with stuff just falling over, stuff like that, that's funny. When Joe Pesci walks by, he was like, yeah, the such and such, he flips the thing. Like there's nobody running in the background when the boat falls in the water. It's just there's no payoff. That is not how you execute a joke like that. And so when you look at this, man, it was just horrible when it comes to the execution. Was there a script there? I'm not gonna knock the script. There was something there in the script that could have happened. But just as much as you told me you didn't like Due Date. If you would have put Zach Galifianakis and Robert Downey Jr. in this, they would. I don't even know if they could have saved it, man.
I didn't say I didn't like Due Date. I said it's not nearly as good as
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I think is what you said.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll even let you have that. But for you to even invoke, why you asked, what you want to know why I walked off earlier? I was just about to say, because clearly I cut you off verbally, but you cut me off with just ignorance. And you literally brought up Home Alone, My Cousin Vinny, and Super. Those are effing classics, man.
So is this.
Dude, do not say that because you know it's not true.
No, I do know, and I'll get into it in Fxxks Given.
Put me on a higher level, give me a show.
Well, Fxxks Given. Let's say, what do you? I'm sure you just want to change the fact.
No, I'll tell you what I would change. I have that, and that should have been my longest line, but I was fair. What I said, what I would change was number one. Again, and yet again. See, and this is what I talk about not having a payoff of it earlier in the film, and they try to set it up right, but something's missing about the execution. When they leave the construction site, when Joe comes to get Gus, and he leaves, and the thing falls, and they just drive off. Like, it's not like they didn't see it. It happened right there. That is a construction site with labor laws and everything. You can't just leave the site after the freaking trailer drops on something, man. Like, you drive off as if you didn't know what happened. Like, come on, man. I understand this is a comedy.
You just watched them shut down the New Jersey power grid with a cigar.
I let that ride because they were kids. But then when I realized they were still kids when they were adults, I let a lot of.
Doesn't matter how the cigar got in the sewer. Logic still has to.
He almost did it in the movie again. He's like, "Hey, Joe, remember?"
That was a beautiful moment.
For you. All right. So with that being said, again, I already mentioned the camera shots were horrible. Most of them.
There was one bad camera shot.
There was a few of them. I would change the title of the film from Going Fishing.
What would you call it?
Non-Lethal Weapon. So it fits your theory. It fits your theory.
It does fit my theory, because
think about this, man.
It's a perfect
Listen,
title.
this is even if somebody agreed with you out there, which there probably are a few people out there. But if you want, even if we were splitting hairs, which I know we're not, you're bald if we're splitting hairs. If there was somebody out there that could say what would be the tiebreaker, which there is not one needed, because I'm right on both sides, and then you're somewhere that little sliver that it's never going to land on. The one barometer on this, the one litmus test to say that I'm right is what you just brought up, which was Lethal Weapon. We actually saw Danny Glover and Joe Pesci in an action/comedy, and Joe Pesci wasn't even the lead. He was Leo Katz. He was he was that guy, and he was funny FAF. He was funny as fuck, and he played off of Danny Glover, and even Mel Gibson's old prejudiced ass. He played off of these people, and it's like, wait a minute. So this formula does work. And I brought up the boat again. So there was a boat, there was an explosion of a boat, and there was Joe Pesci, and there was Danny Glover. And that movie is superior into this film. They don't belong in the same galaxy, not even in the multiverse of madness do these universes belong together. This was the disgrace. If they would have told me that two autistic kids grew up to want to go fishing, I might have loved this movie a little bit more. But for them to say that these are two normal men, and think about it, their wives are really irresponsible. They shouldn't have let those two guys go out there. Look how much trouble they set it up from the beginning. They kept saying they always get in trouble. They're not Joe Pesci and old boy from Home Alone, the way they just happen to get in something. They're bad people.
The wet bandits. I don't understand that. That just blows my mind. You know what? You're saying it perfectly, actually, because your problem with the movie is, I think, exactly what most people's problem with the movie was.
Let's go down. Well.
I think people are going into it expecting Lethal Weapon because it's got Danny Glover and Joe Pesci.
I got non-lethal weapon. You asked me, you begged me, and I told you.
That's what you called it after the fact.
Listen, there's a line in Seinfeld where they're at George's in-laws dinner, and George and his soon-to-be, that doesn't happen, father-in-law are about to talk about this film. And that's why I always say this to you, and you don't know where it comes from, but it's from Seinfeld. George's dad says, because he hears them two discussing the movie, he was like, hey, I ain't seen it yet. And the older dude was like, it has nothing to do with the plot. He said, I don't care, I want to go in fresh. I went into this thing fresh. I kept telling you, don't tell me anything about it. But what did you do? You don't have to say it. You kept trying to go down the hole in me. He's like, man, come on, just go into your 12-year-old you was your representative. He was your consigliere. You went into this film trying to sway me to just, hey man, take away all expectations. Well, damn it, what do I judge it on then? If I'm a child with a little bit of Play-Doh, this might be the best thing ever. You're better than that. And for you, for the 39-year-old version of you to be the representative of a 12-year-old version of you, this film is shit.
That's not what's happening.
This film is shit.
Because I did the research on this movie before I went into it.
And I didn't.
What would I change? I have two things.
My opinion.
I had to stretch. I would love to. I had to really stretch to find two things I would change about this movie. So the first thing is that I embrace the cheese of it, but there are a handful of times in this movie that cross the threshold into kind of feeling like a Disney original, like a Disney Channel movie. One example is when they both mock their wives, like when they act all scared.
Make that sound again? What does that sound like to you?
You when you watch the movie?
No.
What?
Those two things I said earlier, I'm gonna bring them back up. Oh yeah.
Disneyland.
Oh, there you see?
So when they like do that, that was a little like the comedy in general is slapstick and goofy, and it works most of the time. But the line between like slapstick and goofy and Disney Channel is very, very fine. Going from slapstick and over the top that works to the Disney Channel movie, where you're essentially like, it just at times it feels like it's like the equivalent of playing like Goo Goo Gaga with a baby. Like, oh, got your attention. Like the audience are babies and we're too dumb. If you don't like do something crazy in our face, then you're not gonna keep our attention or make us laugh. I don't like that. They did that a few times in this. It doesn't need to be done, and I understand this is like a family-friendly movie, so you want to appeal to the 4 or 5-year-olds that are sitting in the living room watching it with you, but you can do that without Goo Goo Gaga at them. An example of how this is done well is John Hughes walked the line perfectly with Baby's Day Out, which is it's a movie, it's family-friendly, it is one of the funniest movies, it's a perfect double feature with Fishin. The only other thing that I would change is the Willie Nelson thing at the end. I love the Willie Nelson character. I like the way they idolize Billy Ketch Puller. It was a fun element to the characters. But for Ketch to appear and save them and then offer cryptic advice, it just didn't work for me.
It's all in your hands.
Yeah, it was good. All right. I feel like it took away from the movie. This movie succeeds in jumping the shark from the very first scene. Every scene, they're doing something that tests your, logic, or your grasp on logic, or how willing you're willing to let that grasp go. So they do that time and time again in this movie, but for whatever reason, I don't know, when he shows up, all right, maybe it wasn't the scene itself, but the performance or the delivery. Maybe it was rushed. I don't know. I know, like we said, Willie Nelson wasn't supposed to be in the part originally. He came in after the fact. Maybe he didn't have a lot of preparation. There was something about that scene that just didn't click.
They should replace him with Chong, or Cheech and Chong. That would have been cool.
He would have worked. I'm fine with the fact that it's not believable that he showed up in the middle of the Everglades and saved them and offered some abstract advice. I'm fine with that. I can accept that. There's just something about that scene.
Even when they say
play.
He's gone, in 99.99999% of every fucking film, when they say he's gone, they turn around, he's not supposed to be there. He's still going away.
That was bad editing. That wasn't bad performance. That wasn't bad writing. That was
You're an editor.
They
man.
must not have had
you should have put the editor's name in there then.
So I've got a few points on the review. Do you have anything you want to say on the review? Don't say the score yet, though.
Oh, no, I won't say the score.
Okay.
No, I mean, that's going to be hard in itself. But I wouldn't tell you, again, I went into this film review-wise just very happy. It's our first show back, and again, I really think the title really expresses this entire film, because let's use the second word in the title, fishing. You're fishing for something. You're trying to grab something, like my boy says in Joker here. Come on, man, I'm trying to find something here. So he's trying to find that, and then the first word, gone. He was gone fishing, but he never found what he was looking for. There is a script here. There is a nucleus to something that could have been done. The problem is that somewhere in between, and that's why people say you can have the best script in the world, the best actors in the world, the best cinematographers. It still has to mesh. There has to be that ick factor. It cannot be explained. It cannot be defined, but you know it when you see it. And slapstick comedy has been around since Charlie Chaplin. I meant to send you a scene from this Charlie Chaplin thing earlier, but it's been around since the Stone Ages. Like you said, Goo Goo Gaga. Oh, it's been there in our entire lives. And to fail on slapstick is it is sacrilegious to the art form itself, especially when you've seen these guys be funny. I remember Danny Glover in Death at a Funeral. Hilarious. I've seen Danny Glover be, even in Color Purple, Danny Glover has been funny. Like, you told Oppo to beat me? You know what I'm saying? Like, when he got me, so there's so many lines there that we've seen these people do comedy. And so, you know innately that this is either a contract thing where Danny Glover and Joe Pesci had to do another film before they left one contract, or they owed this guy a favor, or they got high on a bunch of coke one night, like they signed a contract and say we do it. But this is an insult to film itself. The only good thing about this film is it shows people what not to do and where the bar should not be. But go ahead, I haven't given that's my review of the film. The last thing is this, is that again, this is a film where even the sub characters, not even the leads, the subplot characters trump they bring some levity to the story. Like you said, the lady from the restaurant, the Phil.
They were great.
It was a bunch of other people, and I truly thought, I did think those guys that picked them up was going to put them in the lotion and the skin situation. Like I thought that they were really gonna.
They're just good guys.
No, man. And again, this film had elements of so many other films. Think about how many plots. Think about how many hijinks happen in Home Alone.
Every movie borrows.
I'm okay with the borrow, but if you're gonna if I give you a vacuum cleaner, I don't want you trying to paint with it. Just do, all you gotta do is push it this way. It's gonna take care of itself, man. I come over, you're doing this with the vacuum cleaner. Like, man, like, what are you doing, bro? Put it on the ground and push it. Hey, man.
I think that Gone Fishing, and I'm not just saying this to piss you off.
You are.
It is one of the,
Jesus
it's in my
Christ.
top 10 funniest movies that I've ever seen.
Please tell me you're joking, David.
I'm not joking. And this is officially part of my review. I feel like, and I don't really care if you curse in movies or anything, like fuck it, it doesn't matter. But the fact that they were able to make one of the funniest movies I've ever seen without a single swear or really any sexual innuendo or anything crude at all, and still make something this hilarious is incredible to me. Not only is it just like you could put it on for anybody and it's not going to offend them, it is just sweet-spirited anyway. Like, the whole thing is just feel good from start to finish. And one of the things that I love most about it is it doesn't do, you may say that it has taken things from a lot of movies, but it left some bullshit that almost every other movie does. And that is, somewhere around the end of the second act, they'll force some like conflict between the two main characters just so they can resolve it in the third
almost
act.
went there, but it went away.
It almost did.
The thing you were
for
talking about with the
split second
acting.
in the light with the lightning.
Yeah.
But they never took it there. Like you said, their friendship never wavered, and I think that's one of the things that makes the movie so endearing. And then what you were saying about like kind of letting nostalgia paint how I view the movie. It had been at least a decade since I watched it regularly, and I was admittedly nervous after doing the research on this that the nostalgia got the best of me and I was going to be let down when I revisited it. This has happened before. It was not the case. So I watched it last night. I was literally, I'm not joking, in tears.
I've known you for 20 some odd years, only to find out I don't know you at all.
This is funny to me. This is sincerely hilarious to me.
Clearly.
And maybe, I don't, my brother and I watched it for the first time when we were like 12. He was maybe 7 or something. We were visiting my dad up north, and he had it on the VHS, and we played this thing out. And then I watch it a little here and there. I show it to people when I meet somebody new, because it's just one of those movies, and it's been at least a decade. It is
This or
up.
Kingpin?
Huh?
This.
100%.
You got nothing else to talk about.
So I have two more. I have 2 more notes in my review. It is well done.
B flat and D minor.
Well done. It is just a well done film. As a filmmaker, as a storyteller, as somebody that has constructed characters and plots and callbacks, and it's just well done. I'm sure that they exist, but there are no blatant continuity errors. There's no technical issues.
We just talked about it. I'm going. He's gone. He's gone.
Oh, that's the one. That's the one. All right.
See, he can't be trusted. He's been infiltrated. You see what I'm talking about here?
All right,
Drink some more water.
Fine. I'll amend it. There's one
Rare rewrites.
There's one blatant continuity error. There's no technical issues that stand out and take away from the movie. The character development is there. They set up jokes, they revisit them expertly. I don't understand what your problem could be with this movie.
I no longer think I'm funny
because
because I no longer think I'm funny. That's the problem, because you laugh at me all the time, and because you think that funny, you almost put a little blemish in my ego to make me think that I am not funny now because you love this film, bro.
It is so funny.
If you're telling me you love this film because you and your brother were eating cereal in pajamas and it was a part of your life that was nostalgia and it was, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that.
Borderline 11.
And that's one of the worst effing parts of that effing movie, bro.
10 plus. That's what I give this movie. Borderline 11. That's my official.
I'm being nice here too.
I'll say some. I will say this. These are not my notes. This is. These are two things I found online that actually support your argument. Gone Fishin's poor performance was a huge contributor to Joe Pesci's early retirement in 1999. He only starred in the fourth installment of Lethal Weapon after being persuaded by Mel Gibson and Danny Glover, and he announced his retirement the following year. He's only made a few films as favorites to friends since then. At the time that the movie was being made and upon its completion, Joe Pesci and Danny Glover were so embarrassed by the film, especially after Janet Wilder's death on set, that they asked for the film to be released direct to video or television. They were sure that it would flop in the box office, and they turned out to be right. They both consider Gone Fishing to be the worst film of their careers. I respect where they're coming from. I respect where you're coming from, but I respectfully disagree. I cannot change how this movie makes me feel.
I don't want you to change, because and this is the beautiful part about it. There are certain films that everybody's going to fall in love with that no one can change their mind on. But you changed my mind on Vanilla Sky. I told you how much I hated that film, and I told you why, and I articulated it. You was like, man, give it another chance, this, that, and the other. I'm glad you said that, because now I have a film that I will never change my mind on. And it also goes with, it's not just because it's them two, it's the same thing with Danny DeVito and Martin Lawrence and What's the Worst That Can Happen. And it's just certain films that I'm like, and Edison, how do these things get made? And that's the frustrating part for filmmakers like me and you, and either people who have, they greenlight these things that clearly you see two names and you expect a return. And you are right about one thing I do want to talk about. I do believe Joe Pesci retired too early, but he shares something in common with Rick Moranis. Clearly, as great as they are, and we talk about this with Jayla Royal, who stars in Far From the Tree, shameless plug, we talk about this, that acting, while we love it and we love everything about film, it's not that important to everybody else. That's why some people do it so effortlessly, because it's not the most important thing for you. Like when they did The Irishman, Joe Pesci saw a 7:30 call time and said, "F that, I'm not going. I'm coming out of retirement." They begged him over. Martin Scorsese had to beg him almost 40 times. Literally, he said this to get him to do that. And in his performance, you see why. But every day he was late to set for 3 or 4 hours because, like, I'm not getting up that early. I'm going to play golf. I'll be there when I need to be there. And you know where that comes from? Years of being an actor, knowing just because my call time is this, I'll be ready. You get everybody else ready, I'll come there. And he killed it. So my point is this, that's the biggest letdown. Even if I put it this way, I'll remove Joe Pesci's name from this and I'll remove Danny Glover's name from this. I'm telling you, if I didn't know the actors, there is something that's missing. I don't even know what it is. It's the E word. Execution. There's something between the script, the actors, and so I have to say it had to land on the director's side and the cinematographer and I will give you this, it's not in the editor, it's not the writing, it's not the actors you cast. It's something on this side that messed this up when all you had to do was get out of their way and let them be them.
I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I'm not the odd one out. You, Joe Pesci, Danny Glover, most of the critics, a large portion of the
people that
public
were in it didn't want it to come out. What more do I need to say to you?
I'm just saying, I sincerely love this movie. If you're one of those rare, I mean, if you're watching this, you're obviously one of those people, unless you just hate watching this. But put in the comments what you loved about Gone Fishing. I would honestly, especially when you look up Gone Fishing and look up reviews, there is like nobody really singing its praises, and there's obviously a reason why that I'm just not getting, and I would just like to see. I also know that I can't be the only person out there that saw it at a particular time in their life, maybe, and it holds a special place in their heart, and it still to this day last night brings me joy when I watch it.
Just for our audience, I want you to remind them, what were the directors that did Kingpin?
Farley Brothers.
Thank you. And so you're telling me that the movie we just covered is better than the movie The Farley Brothers.
To me, yeah.
To you, I believe that.
Put me on a higher level, give me a show.
All right. Well, this was a lively first episode. Coming attractions. What do we got coming up? Tuesday the 25th. Royce Freeman. He did this a while ago, but we've been busy. He interviewed filmmaker Tim Ritter. That'll be dropping on Tuesday, August 1st.
Is that John Ritter's son?
Let's say yes. On Tuesday, August 1st, we have a pre-taped interview that we did about 2 months ago with Tom Seidel. That'll air, and then immediately after that, we're gonna have Tom Seidel right here in Studio 83. He's going to be talking to us and you to watch live right here. That'll follow, I'm not sure exactly what time that's gonna happen yet, but that's gonna be two very interesting conversations because a lot has taken place between those two interviews, and Tom does not mince words. You can expect full He's been to Cannes, he's been over to LA for whatever festival was over there. He's seen the other side of the Mecca. So we get to find out what that is. On Sunday, August 6th, we're doing, like we said, LOL After Hours. LOL Film Festival is coming up. That's on Saturday and Sunday, August 5th and 6th. We will, of course, be hosting the red carpet. And then on the 6th, after the LOL Festival concludes, we're doing the After Hours, our own award show, unofficial, to all the people that contributed to the film.
Also, be sure to follow up as a piggyback there. Be sure now to check out the Sunny Fit channel that is live on YouTube because, again, the crew of Sunny Fit, which consists of me and Durden, Tarantino Jones, and Rick Boyce, we have a channel now. We also have a film in the LOL Film Festival, and so there's going to be the film that you see there, or you'll see online. Well, there will be an extended version of that will premiere. So
very extended.
Very extended. Viagra.
And then Tuesday, after, give me a few days to edit that red carpet stuff. On, I think, Tuesday, August 8th, we'll drop the montage of our red carpet special. And it's not if you've never seen any of our other shit before, it's not your normal red carpet antics. We make it fun for you. And then next month, what movie are we doing next month? It's like we're starting a theme of just movies with actors that we could have easily slipped into the roles for.
This is true. Tell them.
Are we in negotiations now?
Oh, no. What we're going to be doing here, guys, one of my favorite films, I actually saw this on VHS. And I'm almost, we haven't seen this guy since we covered Jackie Brown. The great Samuel L. motherfucking Jackson. And the reason why he started doing movies?
The wonderful,
mischarged,
misunderstood Kevin Spacey, Sir Kevin Spacey.
079865 number, Sir Kevin Spacey. We're gonna be doing a negotiator, you guys, and when I tell you, listen, when you talk about the exact opposite of what we just saw. Talk about from wire to wire. It's not a comedy. There's some little funny stuff in there, but that's not here or there. This is one of the, I still say this is one of the most underrated films because, again, people see it and they kind of just dismiss it. The acting in this film, even if you just take Kevin Spacey and Sam out, it's top freaking notch. The plot is there. It's unique. It's original. It's like John Q inside a police station almost. You know what I'm saying? Like, he takes it over. It's not even a spoiler alert. So yeah, we'll be covering that. He'll be Kevin Spacey without the charges. I'll be Sam Jackson with the same amount of talent.
What was that kid doing at the party?
All right.
Go watch our Devil's Advocate on Kevin Spacey, and I can't. But between now and then, I'm planning on going to see. I've got to see. I'm gonna hate myself if I don't. It'll be the only Wes Anderson movie I didn't see in theaters if I don't go see Asteroid City. So I'm going to try my best to do that and do a review on that before we do the next episode. Are you trying to do the Lean on Me before then?
Yeah, I'm not trying, I am. It's for safety of all high school kids and Joe Clark, I must.
Is there any kind of teaser that you want to?
No, he's already done enough teasing.
Okay, from Kevin Spacey to Joe Clark, that's appropriate.
Yeah, don't let your kids stay over at night. With that being said, guys, listen, we're glad to be black, and we are glad to be back. The break was much needed, and we're refreshed, and again, it just goes to show you guys, keep working at your craft no matter what you do. And he even mentioned this earlier. I'm like, man, we didn't really take a break, he said. We take breaks in microdoses, meaning that, hey, throughout your day, find time for yourself, but you gotta keep going until you get where you wanna be at in life. So we thank you guys for sticking with us. It's been about 3 years now. Clearly, we got an appreciation for what we do. And even while we were gone, we still gave you versions of ourselves, they call them variants, that you didn't even know about. So thank you so much. We could not do it without you. And just do us one favor before you leave. tell a friend and have that friend tell a friend that we're gonna be friends to the end, because this is the song and the show that doesn't end.
And we're gonna have so much fun this season. It's gonna be a 10.
But it won't be
10 plus.
Yeah.
Borderline 11.
Borderline bullshit movie. Don't go fishing, kids. Stay out of the water. We're gonna need a bigger show.
Oh shit, it wasn't recording.
I'll stab you.